In this video, I'm going to walk you through how we are going to be setting ourselves up to go through our serve receive system, which is called a 5-1 serve receive. The goal of this serve receive system is to always ensure that the setter never has to take the serve. We want the setter taking the second ball to run our offense. So we have to arrange things in a way based on the location of the setter in each rotation so that we can have our best passers passing the serve and our setter setting that pass. So we're going to go through each of the serve receive rotations. There are 6 of them because as we rotate around the court, the setter will be in 6 different positions. Depending on the setter, that is the serve receive rotation we need to be able to get in. So first, we normally start with our setter in the first position. You can see on the court here, the court is divided into 6 sections for rotational purposes here. And across the back row, it's 1, 6, 5, and then 2, 3, 4. If you go in order, it's counterclockwise 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the setter is in the first position. And so we can obviously see that currently right now, it would be very easy to serve the setter. So what we are going to do to ensure the setter cannot take the first serve is the setter is going to come up a little bit and as far over to the sideline as they can be without going out of bounds. And our left front player, our L1, our left side that starts in the front row, is going to drop back to be just in front of the setter. Our right side is going to drop back just a little bit to the 10-foot line, and our middle hitter is going to go up to the net, staying, no offense, middles, out of the way, so they should not be taking the first ball on a serve in any situation. What this does is this creates 3 passers, 3 primary passers, both left sides and the starting middle back here, M2. Our right side would be up shorter to help with any really short serves in the middle, kind of in zones 3 and 4. Our left side is kind of on an island here. L1, the one that can drop back, does need to be able to cover both any short serves here in zone 2, along with passing across the back line here. One thing we do have to talk about is the concept of overlapping. So when a team is set up in their rotational positions, this is the rotational positions, no player can overlap a player directly in front or behind or right or left before the ball is served. Once the ball is served, then anyone in the front row can go anywhere in the front row and anyone in the back row can go anywhere in the back row. But until the ball is served, everyone has to maintain their rotational relationships. So here's one thing that cannot happen. The setter cannot come all the way up here and the left side drop back because the rotational position has the left front in front of the setter. Until the ball is served, the setter cannot move in front of the left side. Similarly, we could not have the middle that's here in zone 3 come over here and our left side go here. Again, the middle is to the left of L1. So until the ball is served, those players have to maintain their rotational relationships. So again, the setter is going to come up a little bit. The reason the setter's not coming all the way up to the net is because the setter came all the way up to the net. Then the left side would be stuck here because the left side can't start behind the setter. So we have to have the setter pulled back a little bit so the left side can come back here. Middle's out of the way at the net. Right side is passing short. L2 and M2 are kind of passing with L1 in our serve receive. So this would be the general alignment for this setup. Now, if you notice, I did label the M's and the L's as M1, M2, L1, L2, and I've kind of hinted at this, but all the 1 and 2 mean is where do you start? M1 starts in the front, M2 starts in the back, L1 front, L2 back. And depending on which one you are, the serve receive rotations are different. Start early in the year, I try and keep it consistent. So if you're a left side, I try and keep you at the L2 spot. But obviously, the more of the system you know, the more opportunities there are to play. So this is the alignment for us in serve receive 1. So we just looked at serve receive 1. And so now what's going to happen is everyone is going to rotate one position clockwise. So you can see the setter was in 1, the setter moved to 6. The left side that started in the front row is now in the back row. The middle's moved and the right side moved over. So this is our rotational alignment for serve receive 6 because the setter is in zone 6. So in this serve receive rotation, we can't pull the setter to one side because the setter's in the middle of the court. So what we're going to do is we're going to push the setter all the way up to the net. But again, remember that overlapping rule. Because the right side is in zone 3, which is in front of zone 6, the right side also needs to push up to the net with the setter. All right, so the setter is going to be kind of right here in between zone 3, 2, and 3. The right side will be closer to the net than the setter, just a little bit behind him. Our middle is just going to go chill right over here on the 10-foot line out of the way. All right, there's a reason why we're putting our middle over there. All right, so this leaves a hole in our serve receive system. So what we're going to do is we're going to have our middle back player move over. Now, they have to make sure that they do not cross over the setter because the setter is actually to their right. Even though we push the setter up, we still have to keep the middle back to the left of the setter. So the middle back could move here. Again, you can see this keeps the setter correctly positioned. Oops, let me make that a little thicker of a line. This keeps the setter correctly positioned, so the middle is to their left, the left side is to their right. All right, so we're okay with that overlapping. But then we have a hole over here to pass, which is why the left side, which is in the front row, who started in the back row and won, is going to drop back. But again, because the middle is actually in front of that left side, the left side needs to make sure that they stay in front of that middle there. So the left side cannot drop too far back because if that left side gets here, now we are out of rotation because they have overlapped the middle behind them. So let's just run it back here real quick and I'll walk you through it again. All right, so right side is going to push up to the net here. Setter is going to come right here and push the right side. Middle front, M1, goes and hangs out on the 10-foot line on the sideline. Middle back moves over to fill the hole from the setter. And then the front left steps back to fill the middle's position, staying just in front of the middle. And this right here is the proper alignment for our serve receive when the setter is in zone 6. Now that we've done 1 and 6, we're going to rotate clockwise again, and you can see now our setter is in zone 5. Both the left and the middle, who started in the front row, have now rotated to the back row. The middle and the left side that started in the back row are now in the front row. These are the rotational positions for serve receive 5. This is the trickiest one because we need to get our setter from the back left, and we want to get him as close as we can to the front right. Also, we want our left sides to be in serve receive, but they are stacked, one in the middle and one both in the middle, but one in the front and one in the back. So this takes a little bit of creativity here. And what's going to happen is, again, middles. I'm sorry, you're kind of we send you to the corner in most of these serve receives. So our middle is going to come all the way up as close to the sideline and the net as they can up here to create some space for the setter to come up right inside the 10-foot line here. Now the setter still has to stay behind the middle, right? So our setter has to make sure they are behind the middle, and they have to make sure they're to the left of L1 because L1 is still in to their right. So the setter comes up, but they've got a setter. You have to pay attention to your middle in front of you and still the left side in the back row. You do not care about the left side in the front row. Just to reiterate here, just to go back and show you, the L2 position, the left side in the front row, is not directly in front of or directly to the right of the setter. Diagonal doesn't count. All right, so what we can do, right, we come here, all right, and so what the left side, this L2 can do is this L2 can drop back to where the setter was. They can essentially switch spots. But remember, we have to take care of our overlapping. I'll do this one in blue. And the left side has to stay to the right of M2 and has to stay behind L1. So you can see by switching the positions of the left side at L2 in the front row and the setter, we kind of create this rectangle between the setter and L2 where they have to stay inside and in front or behind of M2 and L1. All right, so let me walk that back here, and I'll walk you through that one more time here. So first thing that's going to happen, well, this will really all happen simultaneously, but our middle is going to go hide in the corner. Sorry, middles. All right, our setter is going to come up inside the 10-foot line, making sure they are in front, behind the middle and to the left of L1. Then L2 is going to drop back into the setter spot, and they're going to make sure they are to the left, to the right of M2 and in front of L1. Right side can just hang out right here at the 10-foot line and help cover anything short. Because again, the setter is going to be moving to zone 7. So any ball that serves short here, we do not want the setter passing. We want the right side picking up here. Anything short here would be picked up by the left side. The middle, when we get to transitioning or offense, you're just going to run to your spot to hit. All right, pretty much we don't want you passing. We want you getting ready to attack the ball. So this right here would be our alignment for serve receive 5. This is the one we've got to watch ourselves the most in making sure we're not overlapping our rotational positions. Now we have rotated a third time, and the setter is in the 4th position, which makes our lives a lot easier because now the setter is in the front row. So pretty much my 3 back row players at this point, once the setter gets in the front row, we can just have our 3 back row players here pass in serve receive. All right. We do have the option if we need to, we can push this right side and pull our left side back if need be. The downside to that is this is our left side front row, and the setter is going to be moving here to set. So that would mean we don't have a left side player in the front row. So ideally, we don't want to pull this left side back to pass, because that would cause problems. We do have the ability, we could do this, all right, where we shift everyone over here. So these 3 players are still in alignment. The setter and the middle here, and then we pull this guy all the way over. So L2 is still to the right of M2 and in front of L1. Again, that's a lot of shifting. We're going to try something simpler to start off. All right, so what's going to happen is the setter is going to come up to the net here and be as close to the net as they can. The middle is going to come stand just in front of the setter, but a little bit further off the net. And our left side is going to come over here and hang out at the 10-foot line. So our initial plan for serve receive 4 is that we have our 3 primary passers, or just our 3 back row players, with our L2, who's pulled short here on the left side. So if we need to pass a short serve somewhere in here, they can do so. And if they don't pass, it's an easy transition for them to get outside here to then attack the ball if they get set. Right side, though, you can see you have a lot of ground to cover here. So we're probably going to have our right side just move up a step or two to make it a little easier, which means we probably want to move our middle over and our L1 over. Since you have a player in front of you to help, our L1 and M1 can kind of help cover the deep corner here behind the right side, who's got to cheat up a little bit to cover that space. So we have 3 primary passers with L2 here at the 10-foot line to help out on anything real short here, right? This would allow the setter, as soon as the ball is set, to move across the net into the hitting position. The setting position, zone 7. M2 can easily get into their hitting position, and so can L1. All right, so that is the idea. I'll do this one more time. So serve receive 4 is going to go like this. Setters in zone 4, they're going to come up to the net. M2 is going to come up and stay in front and behind and to the right of them. And L2 is going to move over here at the 10-foot line to the right of M2. Right side, you're going to move up just a little. M, move, middle back, move over and back. L1, move over and back. And this will give us pretty good coverage for our serve receive here. So this is serve receive when the setter is in zone 4. All right, now we rotate again, and now the setter is in zone 3. Zone 3 and zone 2 are the easiest serve receives in terms of aligning ourselves in a place where the setter does not have to take the first ball. Since the setter is in the middle and in the front, we're just going to have them go stand right in zone 7, which is the place we always are trying to pass the ball because that's the setter's home. That's where the setter is always going or will be going if they're not already there. And so we never want to pass the ball to where the setter is. We always want to pass the ball to where the setter will be. I guess unless they're already in zone 7, then we are passing it to where they are. But zone 7, this kind of space right here at the net, maybe a foot or two off in between zone 3 and 2 is where we want to put the setter. That's where we want to pass the ball. Middle, M2 is going to do the same thing that M1 did back in serve receive 6. So you can see in this situation, you're going to the 10-foot line right along the side there and hanging out just like the other middle did, the one that's in the back row positioned here. We'll just have our 3 primary passers. So L2, our right side, and M1. And our left side here will pull off to the 10-foot line. Again, we have some flexibility with these 4. If someone is struggling or if we had people out and we had different people, we can always pull the right side back or the left side back or the middle back and pull L1 back and work with these 4 passers here. But initially to start the year, we'll go with our 3 primary passers in this serve receive, our L2, our right side, and M1 here with L1 assisting on short serves here. All right, let's just move right into serve receive 2 because that's the absolute easiest one. So if we look at serve receive 2, sorry, that's my cheat sheet down below before I made the video. All right, serve receive 2, you can see the setter is in zone 2. This is the easiest place for the setter to be. They're going to go right to zone 7. We have our 3 primary passers here, M2, L2 on the right side. What we're going to do is have the middle push up to the net, all right, and we're going to have our left side come over just to the right of him. And again, we have our 3 primary passers, M2, L2 on the right side with our L1 helping on any short stuff here. This, again, gives us some flexibility in terms of being able to push people back and have people pass. L1 can move back, push the right side, or push. We could push the middle back and shift over and shift over and shift over, right? There's a lot of different flexibility we have in this, but we'll start the year keeping our 3 back row players here as our 3 primary passers with the front left helping on anything short here, kind of in 4 and 3. M2 probably needs to move up a little bit because any short serve here, our setter is not going to come off the net and pick up a short serve. Our M2's got to move up there. So this is similar to, I believe, serve receive 4 earlier, where our left side and our right side here will kind of shift over and give a little depth because they have someone up here that can help them cover short stuff at the 10-foot line. So there we go, serve receive 2, and that gets us through all 6 of our serve receive rotations.